Hey you all, welcome to the Mainspring channel. I'm Parikh, and in today's video we're going to talk about one of my favorite brands, which is Cartier. When we think about watchmaking and the top brands out there, probably the first brand that comes to mind is Rolex. And while Rolex is the number one watchmaker in Switzerland, the second place goes actually to Cartier. And Cartier overtook the lead from Omega in 2022 and has since maintained that lead. Now, it's very fascinating when you think about Cartier as the second watchmaking brand in Switzerland. And part of the reason is, first, if you look at the split of Cartier watches, about 55% of the watches are sold to men, but 45% to women, which is almost a 50-50 split, which arguably no other brand can claim. The second more fascinating aspect is there are actually very few sports watches in Cartier's lineup. Probably the Santos is the one that comes to mind when you think of a sporty Cartier, and even that kind of has an elegance to it. But if you were to think about the entire lineup of the Cartier watches, they're mostly dress watches, and that is very fascinating because people have been saying that the dress watch is dead for a very long time, and yet somehow the company that sells the most number of dress watches is in second place, above Omega, above Patek, above AP. And that is something very important to note because Cartier's approach to watchmaking is very different from the rest of the crowd. They're not into the hype, they're not into the marketing moments, they're not trying to appeal to the trend of today. What they're trying to do is create timeless designs. And I'm going to illustrate that by looking at a very specific watch. And the watch that I'd like to talk about today is this. This is the Cartier Tank Cintree. This particular watch was released in 2019 as a part of a 3-watch collection. There was a platinum version, there was a yellow gold version, which is this one, and there was a rose gold version. And the Cartier Cintree was essentially first released in 1921, and the design has virtually remained unchanged. The watch features this amazing curved profile, and that's what Cintree means. Cintree means curved. So when they say the Tank Cintree, they're basically referring to this watch as the curved Cintree. The watch features this amazing yellow gold case, and it's got a champagne dial with brown numerals and a railroad track in there for the minutes, which is just gorgeously framed with this amazing case. The watch inside features a manual wound movement. We're talking about the 8971 MC movement, which is basically a Jaeger-LeCoultre movement with a 38-hour power reserve and 18 joules. Cartier has used this watch quite a bit in a lot of their watches. It is an ovalized movement, and therefore it kind of fits the case of this particular profile. And as you can see, the case kind of narrows down towards the edges, so the movement's probably going to fit between these two screws on both sides. It's got the sapphire cabochon on the side, and it comes with this really nice brown alligator leather strap, and it has blued hands for the hours and the minutes. The watch itself is actually stunning, and this is really what I'm talking about. We're talking about a watch design that has virtually remained unchanged, which is almost a century old in design. And it's important to think about when this watch was released. 1921, this was the period where people were wearing pocket watch conversions that were wristwatches, and most wristwatches that were available were mostly 34 millimeters in diameter. So imagine the person who actually wore this particular watch and walked into a room. That was definitely making a statement back then, and even today this is a statement watch for sure. And it sits squarely in the dress category when it comes to the watches that Cartier makes. And again, as I said, there are very few sports watches in Cartier's catalog, and somehow these watches are perennial in style, something that can be worn dressed up or dressed down, and it's a fascinating looking watch. Now, I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and on the wrist the watch looks absolutely stunning. It's lug to lug, like perfectly flanks my wrist with just a little bit more of strap to show so that it actually doesn't look oversized, and it is stunning. It just perfectly sits with the curve of my wrist, which is unbelievably comfortable. And again, there is a timelessness about this watch which most other watch brands just do not capture in their catalog, and that is the staying power of Cartier. That is why they are the number 2 brand brand in the catalog of Swiss watchmakers. Again, just to highlight, this is not a new watch by any means. This is again a 2019 model. It is sold out long time back. I think you can probably pick one up in the secondary market, but it just highlights the point that Cartier's entire catalog of timeless designs just have this very strong staying power in the market as it stands today. So looking at the Cartier Tank Cintree, as well as the several other watches like the Santos Dumont, the Benoit, the Tank, all of these watches have had timeless design that spans over a century, and the design has been very faithful to it. If you take something like the Submariner, the Rolex GMT Master, they all have a strong design DNA. You can tell a Rolex just by looking at the case. But the same does not go for Omega, for instance. If you look at the Omega Seamaster, the Seamaster in its current form really only dates back to the design from the 1990s that was introduced alongside James Bond. And before that, the Seamaster has had just numerous variations of it, some more successful than the others. So I think it's very important to highlight that not all brands necessarily have that strong design DNA that lasts over a very long time. And to be able to maintain that, capitalize that, and somehow for those designs to be so fresh back in the 1900s as it is in 2026 is just unbelievably fascinating. And that kind of tells you why some of these designs are perennial and will probably never go out of fashion. That said, Cartier is not just all dress watches. Cartier does make high horology. They've made perpetual calendars, tourbillons. They've made fascinating watches where the entire movement is actually encased within the rotor. That's almost like MB&F level of horology. And despite all that, they're generally seen as a dress watch company that makes sometimes quartz watches. And I think Cartier has a deeper side. There's more depth to the brand than most people give it credit for. And it's almost a silent brand in that sense, where people generally talk about Rolex, Omega, Patek, AP. That's all well and great, but Cartier somehow quietly snuck into position too. And that is just a testament to how unbelievably elegant timeless watchmaking can be. So for those who say that the dress watch is dead, think again, because that's not really the case. And case in point, Cartier. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do like this video, please give it a like and do subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. And I'd really like to hear your thoughts on what do you think about Cartier as a brand, and what do you think about them being able to make their way to position number 2 among the Swiss watchmakers. And do you own a Cartier in your collection? And if so, which watch it is? With that, thanks a lot and have a great day.